Welcome back to This Week in High School Sports. We're hanging out in Mountlake Terrace today at our show sponsor, Red Onion Burgers, and with us the owner, Sean Richards. Sean, people think of Red Onion Burgers and they think obviously burgers, it's in the name, shakes, fries, other things, but you're so much more than that.
We are. We offer barbecue ribs, our world famous red Cobb salad. Ooh. With turkey and ham.
Healthy options, I like it.
Healthy options, and we also offer paninis, fresh fruit, and smoothies, and so much more, so come on by.
21005 44th Avenue, Mountlake Terrace.
Hello, welcome to This Week in High School Sports. I'm Teresa Whipple here with Steve Willits, and we are on a almost spring-like day today.
Is it spring right now?
No, but it sure feels like it.
I wish it were.
Of course, it'll be raining by, Tuesday or Wednesday, but...
And because of that, we tend to do indoor sports this time.
Yes, we do. Speaking of which, nice segue. We're into basketball season, of course, and we are talking girls basketball, right?
We are. We have a few different things to report this week on the girls' side of things. Edmonds-Woodway, good news, bad news. They dropped a game to Snohomish the other night, 66-64. Both teams undefeated in league play going into the game. The fact that they were able to hang with Snohomish and only lose by 2 was a big deal for the Warriors. It's a Snohomish team that was young last year, and yet they finished third at the state tournament. So Edmonds-Woodway, a nice barometer and a way to kind of gauge where they're at right now. May not be the last time these two teams see each other. District playoffs coming up in a few weeks, so certainly something for them to build upon and to maybe just kind of figure out where they're at. And I have a feeling we'll be talking more about the Warriors later on down the road. Mountlake Terrace, they got their first league victory of the year. They defeated Oak Harbor 45-36 this week. That was on Wednesday. Speaking of Mountlake Terrace girls, they then played Meadowdale on Friday night. And then Meadowdale picked up their first league victory of the year, 52-23, so it was not even close. Meadowdale girls finishing off the second half on a 34-10 run. It's a Meadowdale team that doesn't have a single senior on their entire squad. They've already got 4 victories overall this year, so they're certainly improved. They've already matched last year's win total. So we thought we'd bring a couple girls into the studio to talk about that. So here is our interview with Camryn and Lilly from the Meadowdale girls basketball team. The Meadowdale Mavericks girls basketball team picked up their first conference victory of the season on Friday night, a 52-23 victory over Mountlake Terrace. And joining us right now, junior Camryn Cassidy, sophomore Lilly Williams. And ladies, before we even start with this interview, Lilly, I have to point this out real quick. Tell me how uncanny this is. Almost exactly a year ago this weekend, 52 weekends ago, we had Lilly in studio with Selena Teckel. And I just realized this morning as I was preparing to get ready for this interview. Last year, we brought you in here the Friday after you beat Mountlake Terrace. The score was 52-22 last year, 52-23 this year. Selena was in here and she had scored 11 points in the game. Camryn scored 11 points in the game.
Oh, God.
Lilly scored 18 points in the game last year and 21 this year. So it's almost like we're doing the same interview, just with one different body and going to be talking about some of the same things. So, but a lot has changed in a year, right? Lilly, I'll start with you because you were on that team last year and you get your first conference victory of the season again this year, just like you did during that interview last year. But really, as far as the team is concerned, how much different is it this year?
It's not that much different. I mean, we don't have any obvious leadership because there's no seniors, so we all kind of rely on each other for everything. And this year, we're looking to push the ball a lot more than we did last year. And in our last couple games, we've been doing that, and it's a lot more noticeable.
And as far as getting things done, we should go back to that Mountlake Terrace game. You jump out to a 12-0 lead. 14-4 at the end of the first quarter, and Lilly, you had 9 of those 14 points.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that first quarter.
Really strong out of the gate. We came and we were just going and pushing because we wanted this win, but then we kind of hit a fall and things weren't falling, shots weren't going in, and we hit a drought. So.
Camryn, tell me a little bit about the drought. It was, again, you were up to a 14-4 lead, 18-13 at halftime, so Mountlake Terrace starts coming back. What was the conversation like in the locker room at halftime?
She was pretty angry. She
being Coach Caton and Hoover, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
She came in. We were all talking like we normally do, seeing what we needed to work on next half, and she basically told us that she wants to yell at us, but she wasn't going to. And she told us what we needed to work on the next half, and we really all focused on that. Brought more energy and worked on passing a little more.
And it definitely worked because you had 9 of your 11 points in the second half. So tell me a little bit about that performance. How did you just get a little more comfortable playing in that second half?
I don't really know. Normally my shots are more like consistent throughout like the whole game instead of like half and half or like less and then half more. But I really think that it was more of like teamwork and like the way people were passing and like moving the ball and like penetrating and like kicking instead of like just shooting to shoot. I did that a couple times in the first half.
And I know, Lily, there was a huge run for the team early in the third quarter, and you had a couple three-pointers fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that and just how vital that was to getting the team going for the second half. I know you outscored Mountley Terrace, I think 34-10 in the second half.
We figured out their defense and the way to move the ball to find the open shot, and I was just the one to take them, and I hit them, so it helped bring the lead going, and we took off from there.
And as far as a game like that, getting the win is one thing, but when you come out and dominate a team like that in the second half, moving forward as you look into the second half of your season coming up, and with some very manageable and winnable games, how vital is that to get that confidence going? Camryn, maybe I'll start with you on that question. Just in terms of, does it kind of give you guys that confidence to think, hey, if we can do this on this night tonight, maybe we can continue this into next week and forward?
Yeah, for sure. We work really hard in practices with like our long practices, but there's the days where we're just kind of like not very focused, and then when we have those days, it's kind of like harder to work on what we need to, and like going into next game, we're hoping for a win again against Lynnwood because it'd be interesting to play and win that game.
Oh, well, I'm glad you brought that up. We were going to talk about it at some
Yeah.
point. The schedule coming up, Lynnwood is your next game. And Lily, I know we talked about this, I think, a little bit last year, too.
Yeah.
Obviously, the basketball community around here is pretty tight. A lot of girls from the Edmonds School District teams tending to play with and against each other, even during the off-season in AAU ball and with other leagues that take place. How much would it mean to get a victory over Lynnwood on Wednesday?
That would mean a lot. Meadowdale hasn't beat them in a while, and it's been we've lost by quite a landslide, so hopefully this year it'll be a lot more of a competitive game for us and just give us even more confidence going into our games afterwards.
And I'll ask this for either one of you. Is it a friendly rivalry? Is it? Do you know some of the girls on the other team? Are you friends? I mean,
I think she knows more people on that team than I do. Didn't really talk to any of them for a while. Not like because I didn't like them or anything, but it was just because like I'm not really like close with any of them. I didn't really grow up knowing like a lot of Lynnwood girls, so yeah.
and Lily, I know there's a lot of sophomores on that team too. So girls that are
Yeah.
your age, tell me a little bit about the rivalry there.
I mean, I don't know that well, but I've seen them play. I like Marika and Nakia. I mean, they're both great players, so
So it'll be a good game. Again, Wednesday night at Lynnwood High School, we might add. And then you're home again on Friday night against Marysville-Getchell. Marysville-Getchell, Everett, Marysville-Pilchuck, Oak Harbor, definitely some winnable games on the schedule. You just missed getting to districts last year. It seems like on paper you have a pretty good shot this year. Is it something that the team talks about? Does Caitlin talk about it when she's giving you pep talks, Camryn? How much would it mean for this team to get to districts?
It would mean a lot since like we worked hard last year, but we didn't really reach that goal last year. Since we don't have any like upperclassmen, well, we have juniors, but like there's only 5 of us, and it's like hard for us to to like get there, I guess. But it's like I think like these upcoming games are pretty winnable. And like
And Lily, for you, this team does not have a single senior on the entire roster.
No.
I know you want to live in the moment and you want to try to get to districts this year,
Yeah.
but at some point in time, do you start to kind of let yourselves think about what next year could look like? Because again, with everybody back a year older, I've got to think that it's pretty intriguing to think what could be next year, right?
Yeah, because hopefully we won't lose any players, so we'll have the same team back when other people are losing seniors, so that'll just give us more room for improvement.
Let's do the segment where we talk about each other a little bit here. You knew it was coming. Camryn, I'm going to start with you. We'll let you get it over with here. Tell me a little bit about Lily Williams, the teammate, the player, the friend. What is it like to play with Lily?
she's a lot of energy. When people are down, she lifts them up. She hits the threes when we need them the most, and yeah, she's overall just the best teammate you could have.
And we're going to, by the way, we should mention this too. For her 21-point performance against Mountley Terrace, Lily is going to be our Action Jackson Plumbing Player of the Week, so she gets this shirt. So Lily, we're going to hand that over to you.
Thank you.
And while you're accepting that shirt, we're going to have you tell us a little bit about Camryn Cassidy,
Oh boy.
your teammate here, the junior. 11 points on Friday night against Mountley Terrace. What's she like to play with?
She really stepped up big that game, but she's really quick and fast. She uses that to her advantage. She attacks strong. She goes into contact. She can also hit the shot, and she's just a great team player, has a lot of energy.
And they're not the only two players on this team. We've got the roster here to prove it. Camryn, when we start to look at this roster, maybe I'll have you start with some of the post players. Who are some of the girls that we're watching on any given day?
Fatu,
Who's only a freshman.
yeah, she's
Doesn't
only
look
a
like it.
freshman. She's 6 foot, way taller than me. She's one of the best posts we've had in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
She goes up strong, but lately it's just been hard for her to like finish her shots. She just needs to work on like going into contact and like finishing them. But overall, she's like really good post, and I don't know who else we could have better in the center. And then Cassidy, she goes in for Fatu when Fatu like gets called for fouls and coach gets mad. But Cassidy's been working really hard. She's been making a lot of shots. When we played Kamiak, she had 12. Oh no, wait. When we played.
Cammy actually did have a nice game in the
She did
second
have a nice
half,
game,
yeah.
but the game we played before that, she had 12 points. It was a big game for her.
Nathan
And then, yeah, Kaylee steps up big. Compared to last year, she's working really hard. She's posting up more. She's getting more, like, open shots. And she's working really hard. Alicia went from guard to post, and she's been working hard to get, like, use her, like, short to, like,
Strong.
her
She's
advantage.
very strong.
Strong and
Yeah.
short. So it's, like, she can use that to her advantage and go under the taller post.
And I always get a little confused at first. You mentioned Cassidy, and that's Cassidy Gamble. So
Yeah.
we have Camryn Cassidy, Cassidy Gamble.
Yeah.
Does it get confusing when somebody yells out Cassidy, or
Very
how do we?
Water
Very.
bottles.
How
One
do-
says Camryn, one says Cassidy, so everyone's like when they're grabbing
No, one
it.
says Cassidy, one says Gamble, because they're all last
Oh,
names.
that's what
Okay.
I
So
meant, yeah.
people will grab Cassidy's when they're like, oh, can you hand me my water? But they'll grab mine instead of hers. So it gets confusing, especially since we play soccer together. Our coaches call her Cassidy and me Cassidy because it's my last name. So they'll just confuse us, and I know my soccer coach and basketball coaches have all done that in the past.
So do you tend to look up a lot when they're talking to her? And,
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
You've gotten used to it, though, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then Lily, what about some of the perimeter players? Who are some of the guards that are helping out on this team?
Yeah, we have a lot of point guards this year. We have Taylor, Soraya, and Keisha, and they're all interchangeable. They're all really good at breaking the press and looking to attack. And then we also have Tyra, who she's a transfer this year, and when she goes in, she goes hard. She's always going 110%, even not in games in the weight room like yesterday.
She was lifting a lot.
Yeah. And then Alicia, she'll also play guard, and she looks to attack and looks for her shot and to go up strong.
So a well-rounded team, a team that's starting to kind of catch fire all of a sudden, is certainly on Friday night, and a team that isn't afraid to fight back a little bit when they fall behind. And I mentioned to both of you that I was going to bring this up during the show. During the holiday tournament, I had over at Mount Lake Terrace High School right after Christmas, I guess it was December 27th, had a chance to see a play against Kamiak. Not a good first quarter, right? You were down 17-0 at the end of the first quarter, and I think everybody in the gym thought that the game was over. You came fighting back. You got it within 2 points, I think, with about 4 minutes to go in the game. You were only down by 2. Almost came back and won the game. Camryn, talk a little bit about the mindset of this team and what is it like? Because so many teams, I think, would have folded after that first quarter, and yet you kept fighting.
Well, for us, that's happened to us in the past, and we know that we need to work hard to like get where we want to be, which is like playoffs this year. And like coach will talk to us, and like she'll take a timeout, and she'll just like kind of lift all of our spirits, and like we'll all just go out and work harder than we were working. And I think that like for the other team, like Kamiak just kind of like thought the game was over, so they just kind of like let go a little bit and like left people open. Like me and Lily, they just kind of like leave us open, and I would see Lily a lot and just throw it to her, and she'd hit a 3. So it just kind of worked in our favor that game.
It definitely did. And Lily, for you, when you have a game like that, is it something that you can kind of feed off for the future? Have there been games since then maybe where you've fallen behind and, hey, remember Kamiak? We can do this. I
Yeah.
mean, does it help you when you move forward?
Yeah, we know we don't want to get in that deep of a hole again because it's hard to get out once you
Yeah.
get that far in. And in that game, if we weren't that far in a hole, like it would have been a lot different, hopefully a different outcome too. So just like knowing that for future games, we can't get in that deep of a hole, so we need to get ourselves together and just go.
We last year when we had you in studio, we were talking about you guys had a little ritual at the time that you were writing on your wrist.
Yeah.
I understand that's not happening this year, but what is Braver Method? Either one of you want to kind of give me a little rundown on what that is?
Well, coach brought it to us like during the varsity retreat. She just basically told us we were going to do this thing to basically have a reset word to calm us down and like refocus.
And this is pregame that you're going to
This
be?
is, yeah, pregame,
Okay.
and we do it before every practice. We basically like all close our eyes, we'll sit down or lay down, and we'll like focus on our breathing, and then we'll have a reset word and we'll say it, and then she'll tell us to focus on a first affirmation, third and second, and second, third, sorry. And we basically like, we can exchange them as the season goes on and as we progress. And you basically like tell yourself that you are like the best at something, or you are doing really great this game, or something that like can help you like in the next game or in practice.
And Lily, has it helped? I mean, do you find that it works at times?
I mean, I guess, like, because instead of, like, saying you, like, reaching a goal, like, you're saying that you already have reached it, so you're imagining yourself, like, already getting there, and so you can just imagine the outcome, and hopefully that's the outcome that you get.
I'm imagining the outcome that you were thinking about on Friday night was a victory, right? So
Yeah.
there we go. Braver method. Hey, and then looking forward again to, we talked about some of the games coming up. Finals week is not this upcoming week, but the following week. How difficult is it to manage academics and basketball games and practices for that matter too? Because Caitlin likes to have lengthy practices, right? As you
Yeah.
guys told me. What is that week like when you? I mean, at Edmonds-Woodway next week, for instance. I mean, trying to focus on a big game and school at the same time. Lily, is that a hard thing to manage and juggle?
Yeah, it's hard to balance because you have so much studying to do, but you also have practice and games that you have to prepare for. Especially this year, we'll have 2 freshmen who haven't had finals before, so they're going to have to figure out how to balance it, and they both play key roles in our games, so they're going to...
Not a bad problem to have, though, right, Cameron?
No, not at all. They're really strong players overall. But going into finals week is one of like the hardest things you can do as a basketball player. It's especially hard. Like, it was hard sophomore year for me, but this year it's going to be like a little more difficult because junior year is very, very important. And not saying sophomore year isn't, but it's going to be hard to find time to study, but I think we can all do it.
So finding time to study, playing basketball, and hopefully qualifying for districts in the process.
Yes.
Should mention a play-in game if you can finish in the top 9 in the conference, which they look like they're on pace to right now, would be on a Wednesday, February 7th. And then a couple of days later, if you can win that game, district playoffs would start. So we're certainly hoping to be talking Maverick basketball well into the second week of February. We'll see. Camryn, Lily, thank you very much for coming in, and best of luck to the Mavericks this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for documenting that amazing transition between the 2 games from last year to this year. A fascinating stat.
It wasn't something I was planning on reporting, but when I went back to watch Lily's interview from last year, matter of fact, it was an interview I watched about 2 hours ago, all of a sudden it just dawned on me as she's talking and as we were talking about a 52-22 game that, wow, that seems awfully close to the score that we were about to report on. So, it wasn't something that was planned, but hey, sometimes they fall right into your lap. You have to run with it.
That's right. Okay, well, what's next? Boys basketball?
Yeah, let's talk a little boys basketball for a minute. The 100th meeting ever took place on Friday night between Mount Lake Terrace and Meadowdale. Thank you, Roger O'Neill from Meadowdale, who documents everything and is quite the historian.
Yeah.
We found out that it was the 100th game ever between the Mount Lake Terrace and Meadowdale boys varsity basketball teams. It was also Coaches versus Cancer Night, so the MTHS ASB was raising money for the American Cancer Society. The Mount Lake Terrace Hawks boys coming away with a 65-50 victory. By the way, in case you're wondering, that evens the series. Each team has now won 50 games total overall since the series started back in 1964. Brendan Hayes, who wasn't born back in 1964, he was not alive. He scored 22 points on Friday night, so congratulations to him. And another Mount Lake Terrace player who we want to give mention to, Kyrie Armstead. Huge honor for him the other day. He was one of 283 seniors in the nation nominated to potentially play in the McDonald's All-American game. That game is coming up on March 28th. The top 24 seniors in the nation will be playing that day in Atlanta. They're going to dwindle that list down to, I think, 24 players. I think it's next week, but for the time being, Kyrie is one of 283 in the entire nation. Again, I think only 11 players out of the state of Washington. So a huge deal for him. So congratulations to Kyrie, and probably a long shot to be one of those final 24, but hey, just to be nominated, huge deal, and we'll keep our fingers crossed for him. And then we'll talk about the other 2 teams too as well. Lynnwood, the boys picked up a 77-51 victory over Snohomish on Tuesday, and they did so without their top scorer, Jerry Boston, who is out with an injury. And they won 77-51, so it wasn't even close. Gabe Newsom stepping up, had 12 points in the first quarter, ended up scoring over 20 for the game, so a nice job for the Royals. And then the Edmonds-Woodway Warrior boys picking up a huge victory over Snohomish on Friday night. So victories all around. Meadowdale not so much, but certainly they're still looking good as they keep their playoff hopes alive.
Okay, good. Well, one of our favorite sports, swimming, we're going to talk about.
We're going to talk more swimming this week. We've got two Lynnwood swimmers who came into the studio today to talk about Royals swimming, one of which just broke a school record that had stood for almost 20 years. Here's Zach and Brian are talking about the Royals swim team. The Lynnwood Royals swim team, it picked up their first victory of the season this past Thursday. Nice job, guys. Getting a 93-78 victory over Marysville-Pilchuck. That's not the only thing we're celebrating here right now, though, too. We've got a swimmer that just set a school record last month. With us right now, the sophomores from the team, Zach Bevans, Brian Lee, and Zach. We're going to start by talking about that record. The 100 fly. This is a Lynnwood swimming team that has a record board at the pool, and pretty much the name Kit Tainter dominates that board. He has his name on, I think, all 11 swimming records. That's going to change, though, now, because you went out and set the 100 fly record. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell me about that day and that moment. Is it something that you would kind of aspire to do all season long?
Okay, so yes, for sure, but the 100 fly record was something that I could beat this season because it's slow, like just slow for me at least, but when I beat it, it was a pretty exciting time. Like it was, like everyone was cheering that because I looked up on the board, I wasn't expecting to beat it, but everyone goes, you just beat it, and then so.
When you say you weren't expecting to beat it that day, you had
Yeah,
that in
yeah.
your sights for the season, right?
Yeah, I had it like for districts maybe, but then I beat it the first meet, and I was kind of surprised with myself, and it felt like a slow pool too. So.
And that was
Yes.
over at Shoreline. And Brian, you were watching Zach during that particular moment. Was it something that the team took a great deal of pride in? Did you enjoy that
Yes,
moment as
I
well?
did.
Or?
I did enjoy it, you know.
And was the team cheering him on? I mean, what was that like? Did you know right away that he had it, or was it?
Well, I didn't really know exactly. I just looked at the scoreboard, mostly, at the end, and see if he did it.
You just brought up something that's kind of interesting to me, Zach. For somebody like myself who's never swam competitively, and maybe Brian can chime in on this too. You said it was a slow pool. Are some pools faster than others? How does that work?
It's really just the temperature of the water. So like that pool felt kind of warm, and usually warm pools aren't our favorite to swim in because they just feel a little more like thick and slow, and you can like overheat. So I wasn't because that was kind of a warm pool, so I wasn't expecting to beat it in a warm pool, but then I did. So.
Now I'm fascinated with this too. So Brian, when you jump into a pool, do you know right away that can you tell a difference in temperature between maybe say the last pool you had swam in prior to that? I mean, do you know right away that does the pool have a different feel to it right away? Because I've got to think it's not a matter of 100 degrees versus 2 degrees, right? I mean, it's got to be just ever so subtle, right?
Yeah. So it's mostly when you jump in the pool, you get that first shock, like it's either warm or cold. And so that's how I...
And you kind of know from that point on if you're going to have a fast day or maybe a little bit, not quite as speedy. Okay, very nice. Well, let's talk about this win the other night. Thursday, you guys pick up a victory over Marysville-Pilchuck. Brian, I know a lot of folks think of swimming as an individual sport, but it's not, right? I mean, do you guys take a lot of pride? Was it a big deal when you won this
Yes,
meet?
it was a really big deal for the whole team.
And Zach, tell me a little bit about that. What does it mean when a team gets a victory as opposed to maybe, say, when you break a school record?
So, it's a team victory is when, like, the team, everyone on the team wins first. You know, just they get more points than the other team. So, when we heard that our team won, it was nice to hear that because that means everyone did their best. Everyone got us points for the team. They even had divers, which gave them extra points that we didn't have because we don't have a dive team. But we managed to like come back from that and get more points than them, so that was pretty cool. And it was just I think that was like I've been swimming for Lynnwood for 2 years, and I think that was like the first meet we've won. So
Very nice.
yeah.
And Brian, I know if we go to a basketball game, we can look up at any given moment and we see the scoreboard. We know what the score is or how many points you're down by or ahead by. You don't always know that in swimming. When you're in a meet like this and you kind of know it's close going down the stretch, do you find yourselves over on the sideline trying to add up scores in your head? Do you have a pretty good indication as to whether or not you're ahead or not, or do you not have any clue until afterwards?
I don't really have any clue afterwards, but I try tallying up a little bit. So let's just say like, oh, we got a first place, so we got like 6 points, and then so I just tally it up a little bit in my head. Sometimes I forget about it, but yeah.
But on this particular one, you kind of had an idea that you might be ahead then, right?
Yes.
So it was a very nice win for you. A very nice job. And we talked about this last week during the show. We had 2 of the Meadowdale swimmers in here, and Max Capperman was one of them. And when I asked him about whether or not, and we should point out, Lynnwood and Meadowdale share a swim team. You swim together, which is a little unusual. You don't see that in a lot of sports. I asked Max about that relationship, and he said, absolutely, we're just one big team, and he doesn't think of there as being any kind of separation. Zach, what's it like for you? I mean, when you're out there with the Meadowdale guys, do you feel like it's Lynnwood and Meadowdale, or is it just one team?
So it's definitely just one team because we're so close with the Meadowdale guys and we all know each other very well. But at meets, there is no like separation between the teams at all. Like we're all one team. If we see a Meadowdale guy win his race, we're happy. I mean, the points aren't going to go against each other, so we're not going to they're not going to benefit from beating us. Like let's say we get second and they get first, we're still going to get first place points because we're a combined team. So it's just like, yeah.
It works out well.
It works out well,
Definitely. And now, Brian, as far as some of the other swimmers, we talked with the Meadowdale guys last week about some of the guys from their school that swim. Tell me about some of the other Lynnwood guys and who's on this team right now and who else is swimming out there with you.
We also have Andrew Carr, which is a pretty good freestyle swimmer. And we also have 2 new freshmen, twins, Titus and Samuel. They're pretty cool.
Very nice. And tell me about this guy. What's it like to swim with him, knowing that you've got a school record holder here? What's Zach Bevans like?
Well, it's amazing to swim with him. Swim against him. I mean, he's pretty good.
He's pretty good. And you know what? We're going to make sure that we show how good he is. Because of the school record in the 100 fly, Zach Bevans is going to be named our Action Jackson Plumbing Player of the Week. So you get a shirt to go along with that record.
Sweet.
So while you're wearing that shirt, you can look up on that board and see your school record there. Now that we've had Brian talk about you a little bit, tell me about Brian Lee, the swimmer and the teammate, and what's it like swimming out there with him?
Okay, so Brian is a very determined swimmer. He may not swim club, but he has determination, and I don't think he's missed a practice yet. And you're always focused. I mean, he's like the role model for the team because he is on task 100%. And he also, I mean, it doesn't mean that he doesn't have fun. He still has fun, but he does the sets, and he doesn't give up during the sets at all. So.
Well, that's important for swimming too, because we've mentioned this to other swimmers in the past, or we've asked the question. Brian, swimming's a sport that you have to put a lot of time and effort into, right? How much time is devoted to swimming during the school year and beyond? I mean, when do you practice in the morning, afternoon? When are you out there swimming?
I mean, it depends on either school, school time. So I just say Mondays and Wednesdays we swim about an hour and 30 minutes. And so at Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, we swim about 2 hours or so, after school. And so it also depends if there's no school or there's school. And so if there's no school, it would be a morning practice.
Keeps you busy then.
Yeah.
And now you don't swim club during the swimming season at school, but you do swim away from when the school season's done. Who are you swimming for?
I'm swimming for Dale Turner YMCA.
Over on Highway 99. Yeah. Very nice. And then as far as you, Zach, you swim club and Lynnwood during the season, is that correct?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the swim season, high school swim season, I went to both high school practice and club practice, but right now I haven't been going to as many club practices because it's just it's too much after a while.
Mm-hmm.
But year round I do swim for SSCD Dolphins. It's a good team. they're like fully responsible for getting me up to where I am now. I wouldn't be the same if I wouldn't have joined that team.
And that's a local team, right? Where are you swimming out of for them?
It's up in Mukilteo. We usually swim at Camryn, so.
Okay, so very nicely done. And as far as looking at the upcoming schedule here, I know you've got a big meet against Everett on Tuesday. We start to look towards postseason swimming, if you will. Edmonds district meet is coming up on Saturday the 27th, and then it's district and state time. How are both of you feeling going into it? I know you're only sophomores, but Brian, do you have any particular goals for yourself, and which swimming events are you partaking in for the upcoming season for the rest of the year?
Well, I'm trying to focus on freestyle, mostly because that's usually my favorite go-to. But right now, I think I'm trying to improve on my backstroke.
Okay. And when you set goals for yourself, is it a matter of trying to get to districts or get to state, or are you looking to increase times, PRs? What exactly are your focuses and your goals?
Mostly time or breaking, my personal record, as you said.
And then Zach, for you, we mentioned the 100 fly already. What other events are you involved with right now?
So I think I might, just like Brian, I might go with backstroke. Last year I did the 100 fly and backstroke for districts, and I might do it again. I might go with freestyle too. It depends on what I'm feeling up for.
In the moment, so to speak, or
Yeah,
is it just
yeah.
kind of where you feel like you're getting the most improvement at the time? And
Yeah, so I don't know, I might try freestyle this year, 100 free or 50 free, because I think we've both qualified for districts in many events, so.
And districts coming up on February 9th and 10th. That's going to take place at the Snohomish Aquatic Center up in Snohomish. As far as coaching is concerned, you already talked about your club team. Tell me a little bit about the Lynnwood Meadowdale team. I know we talked with the guys last week about Coach Katie. Brian, what are your thoughts? How much has she helped you guys this year, and what does she mean to the team?
She helped me a lot, and I mean a lot. She's been positive to me, giving me tips here and then, she's been pretty good.
And by the way, I asked Coach Katie to give me some pointers about this interview and give me some tidbits on you guys. And Zach, one thing she mentioned about you is she said in a text, Zach likes to have fun when he swims. What does that mean?
So a big part of swim practice, at least, is we all train and we swim and we get better, but at the same time, we're a big team and we all know each other. We're all very close, so we all just goof around. It's fun for us. Katie sometimes gets annoyed with us, but it's
That's what coaches do, though, right?
yeah. But other than that, it's just we have fun while we swim. That's a big part of it. So
You guys seem like you're so busy with swimming, and school is obviously a big part of who you are. Brian, I understand you play a little piano too on the side. Is that something that kind of just keep you doing other things? And what other activities are you involved with? How much piano do you play? I'm always fascinated to hear about piano players.
Playing, I don't play like that much. I just play like a couple of pieces, day after day.
Keep it going. I always like to hear about musicians and what they're doing. And Zach, you used to play a little piano too, is that right?
I used to a long time ago, but it just wasn't really for me, I guess. So
Hey, it doesn't work for everybody. One thing that does work for both of these guys is swimming, though. So big year so far, and we're certainly hoping for more success in the pool for you guys. Zach, Brian, thanks for coming in today, and best of luck to you guys the rest of the way out.
All right.
all right, thank you.
A lot of energy with those swimmers.
Yeah, definitely. You have to have a lot of energy to swim, right?
Yeah. Oh, I used to be a swimmer when I was younger on a swim team, and I just got to the point where it was just a lot of hard work, and I admire people who stick with it.
I do too. And interesting to note, I didn't realize there were fast pools and slow pools. I'm
I
always in a
didn't
slow
either.
pool apparently
Yeah.
because
Yeah, me too.
I don't go very quick. But the things we learn on the show sometimes bring in folks in from different sports and various activities, and I had no clue that there was a difference between pools. And
No.
good to know.
Yeah, very good to know. Well, what's happening in wrestling?
Wrestling, two big matches coming up this week that we're going to follow, both on Thursday. And we follow them because they are Edmonds School District schools going against one another. We've got Edmonds-Woodway at Meadowdale on Thursday night, Mountain Lake Terrace at Lynnwood. So if you're a fan of wrestling and want to see some of our local competitors, get on out there. Also wanted to make a couple quick basketball notes here, or one in particular. We already talked during our interview with the girls today that the Lynnwood girls were going to be traveling to Meadowdale on Wednesday. Well, the boys are playing each other this week too. However, they're playing on Tuesday at Lynnwood. So if you want to watch the Mavericks and the Royals take on one another, the only time they play this year during the regular season. So make sure you get on out there and watch that game.
Very good. Okay. Well, we hope everybody has a good week, and we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us.